You thought Caffe Panna was done, but they are back. This time with a fall pack full of fall flavors. It is that time of year. Now, I don't want to take credit, but I did beg her for days, even weeks, once I heard she was creating all these fall flavors to bring them to nationwide shipping. And you can thank me later after you order this pack. Now, I can handle all 6 in one review. However, this time I'm gonna try something different. It's just easier for me to break it up into 2, part 1, part 2, 3-pint reviews. So we have all 6 reviewed, 2 parts, 3 in the first part, 3 in the second part. So today we're gonna be doing PeCran Puff, our favorite, and Nocciola Buns. PeCran Puff. Love the name, so we're off to a good start. And I guess it settles the debate of whether it's pecan or pecan. I'm personally a pecan guy, pecan pie, but I know there's a ton of people out there who say pecan. Now this is just a chocolate ice cream with candied pecans, a tangy cranberry swirl, and a house-made cranberry marshmallow. Now the chocolate, always starting with the base. The chocolate, it's the definition of chocolate. I've had it time and time before with other Caffe Panna scoops. There's just a lot of creaminess and sweetness, which allows for more of a milk chocolate type of flavor. Now cranberries, they're just there for me. I don't love them, but I don't hate them. And the cranberry swirl was definitely lacking as far as the mixing in this pint. I had some at the top, but I haven't been able to find you any to see since then. It was, however, much tangier than the cranberry marshmallow swirl. And it's not really so much a swirl as it is an overly thick goo. It more so acts like chunks of cranberries. The cranberry marshmallow, on the other hand, is very similar to, just think of like a marshmallow fluff. And there was a stupid amount of it in this pint. This is just a portion of it. I could literally, though, like take the pint straight out of the freezer, squeeze it, and it's so soft, it would just come gushing out. There was so much marshmallow fluff in here, cranberry marshmallow fluff. Now, it's not quite as, I'm gonna say, dense and sticky as a typical marshmallow fluff, but it still has that same light, airy texture to it. With this, though, you get a sweeter cranberry flavor because of that marshmallow addition, but it's still mildly tart because of that obviously noticeable cranberry flavor. The candied pecans are epic. First off, there's a ton of them, and they're all whole in size, so they maintain that raw pecan-like chew, but they're also grittier because of that candied coating. And because of that candied coating, they're bursting with this caramelized sugary goodness while finishing with the most incredible toasted pecan nuttiness. Definitely a flavor profile I would have never thought to put together. And while all the flavors were good, I found myself a little overwhelmed with the cranberry marshmallow. 7 out of 10, our favorite, which I'm assuming is Caffe Panna's favorite. Anyway, it's a mascarpone cheese ice cream with cooked down Concord grapes and a pear compote swirl. Now, when I first popped the lid off, I didn't know what was going on. There was fruit swirls just going everywhere. And the fruit components are the best part of this pint, in my opinion. So starting with those cooked down Concord grapes, just like it says, they're cooked down to essentially a jam or jelly-like texture. Not too thick, but they have some chunks, especially the skins, mixed in. Fantastic flavor. Now this is not a knock, but it does taste very similar, which is great in my opinion, to Welch's grape jelly. Of course, not quite as sweet because this doesn't have all the added sugars, but don't get me wrong, it is sweet, but think more of like a natural grape sweetness. As for the other fruit, the pear compote swirl was very strange. It scrapes, what I mean, like when my spoon hits it, it scrapes icy. Like I can hear the ice as my spoon hits it. But as soon as you put it on your tongue, it's like it's gone. It's super soft and juicy. It's crazy. There's no iciness at all. Now for the flavor, it isn't the strongest, but it certainly has a noticeable pear flavor that's sweetened with a bit of syrup. Pears are a really good fruit to pair with cheese. Wait a minute. Pun unintended. Just realized that. Pears to pair with the cheese. Pun unintended, but I like it. But back to the base. This isn't the most flavorful cheese ice cream, specifically mascarpone cheese. Very mild flavor with very low acidity. Maybe it's the fruits dumbing it down. I don't know, but it definitely doesn't pop like it should. Once again, another flavor profile I never would have thought of. The fruits in here are great, but amping up that cheesiness within the ice cream would have done a lot of good for this pint. 6 out of 10. I know what you're thinking. Caffe Panna with a 7 out of 10. And then the mostly unheard of, especially for them, 6 out of 10. But relax. I generally know how to steer this ship, so I can scoop from best to worst. So with 4 pints left in the entire pack, I'm thinking there's nowhere to go but up. Next up is Nocciola Buns. Now bear with me before you start pitching a fit. This is a hazelnut ice cream with the hazelnuts coming straight from Italy. Can't imagine the price tag on those. Then add in toffee crunchies in a sweet potato bun swirl. Let me sidetrack for a second because you guys need to hear this and they deserve a shout out. But the sweet potato bun that Caffe Panna is using as a swirl here is it comes from a sweet potato cinnamon roll from a bakery, excuse me if that's not technically correct, but a bakery in New York City called Miller's and Makers. Now, my wife Caroline and I were very fortunate enough to try it last year, yes, back in May of 2019 at the Hester Street Fair. So, of course, I got a picture of it. I'm gonna throw it up here now for you to see, even though it's probably a crappy quality because it was pouring rain that day. Anyway, so good. Actually, now that I think of it, just go Google right now. Miller's and Makers sweet potato cinnamon roll for just one of the most beautiful bakery items you've ever seen. Enough rambling. The base is absolutely phenomenal. Easily the best hazelnuts, I guess I gotta say hazelnut ice cream I've ever eaten. Very earthy and obviously nutty, but it's also so smooth from all the cream. It's truly a beautiful flavor. The toffee plays off the hazelnut in a great way. First off, it's sweeter than the base with the combination of the milk chocolate and caramelized sugar. But don't forget about that like slightly burnt butteriness that comes with it. This is the definition of toffee. They crushed it. Which is the perfect lead into the chopped up, crunchy, you all know the crackly-like texture toffee has. And there was tons of it to go around. Then you have these chewy sweet potato buns from Miller's and Makers. Don't overthink it. Just think cinnamon roll, but made with sweet potatoes. And I honestly don't know why they call it a swirl because, I mean, look at this. It's literally just huge chunks just scattered throughout the pint. And I don't see how they keep them so soft and chewy while being frozen in the ice cream. Bread, any type of bread, is generally a tough mix-in to pull off when frozen in the ice cream. Now, these aren't as gooey as they would be freshly eaten, but like I said, for being frozen, they're very soft and chewy. And I had no idea the flavor would mesh so good with all the other components of this ice cream. Now, I know it sounds ironic, but I don't think it's as sweet as your typical cinnamon roll. Yes, it's still sweet, but it is heavy on the cinnamon spice, which brings out that earthier, natural sweet potato flavor. Don't ask me how all this comes together. Your sweet potato, your hazelnut, your toffee. I have no idea, but it does. And it does really, really well. 8.5 out of 10. And I'll see you guys at part 2 of the Caffe Panna Fall Pack review.